Record. Okay. I know there's a few stragglers. There's some that are going to come in from training that reached out. But basically tonight, the purpose of the call is just to dive deep into, an NCAA Division One program, how it works, what the ins and outs of it are. Basically, what I've put down, recruiting timeline for NCAA Division One, what specifically Shane and the Lipscomb soccer program look for in a recruit, what's important during the recruitment process, understand the weekly schedule of an NCAA Division One college athlete, understand the schedule and vast representation of an NCAA Division One athlete, and then just kind of dive deeper into the Lipscomb soccer program. I just want to put this out first. This is not a Q&A. I will lead the discussion with Coach Shane, and then at the end, if there's any questions, we can circle back. But the purpose is just for kind of us as players to look, parents to look, just what the recruitment process is, and kind of like the specific school that Shane's at. So obviously it's in downtown Nashville. It's one that is really competitive and has had a lot of history. So it's really just trying to dive deep. Last year when I done the call on the for the college advisory, we had four coaches on, no, sorry, five coaches on from all five divisions of college soccer. With this one, it's just diving deeper into the NCAA Division One pathway. So just give you an idea of what the purpose of the call is. Like what I say at the end, we'll open up to any questions with Coach Shane. So basically something that I've put in the start of the presentations, on average 55% of Lobos Rush players advance to play college soccer each year. We want to do a better job of kind of getting younger ones, i.e. freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and even seniors at sometimes, just the understanding of the recruitment process. When do we start? What's important in regards to what you need to be doing on your end, and then also hear it from the college coach's standpoint of what they look for on their end, and just kind of connect the dots. So basically, to start with, we've got obviously the Lipscomb, we've got the boys in a circle around the head coach, and this season was for Coach Shane's first season at Lipscomb University. So he's kind of coming from a process where he's looking now actively at recruits for the first time in regards to looking for next fall season. But I mean, I'll just open up to you with the first question. Like, what specific traits do you look for in a player at the NCAA Division One level?
Yeah, I think obviously a good soccer player, technical, comfortable on the ball, confident on the ball. I think fitness wise, we would kind of describe ourselves as a high pressing, high possession team. So fitness is a must. Other than that, I know Division One has a lot of kind of impressions that it's very international, it's very athletic, it's very fast paced, which definitely fast paced is true, but it's not. We just want the best players. At the end of the day, whether it's from Memphis, Tennessee, or whether it's from South America, we want the best players, and that's the truth of it. But yeah, definitely being technically comfortable, being brave on the ball, being confident, someone that shows some character, and that can come across in video, and it can come across on recruiting phone calls, and then high fitness levels. Yes, athleticism to a certain point, but as we know, Messi's the best player in the world, and he's 5'9", and he's not very tall. So yeah, we're open and broad in our recruitment. We're not just looking at 6'6" athletes. That doesn't translate to a good soccer player. And yeah, definitely technical, and are fit and can run and can compete. But definitely we're looking for footballers first rather than athletes.
Yeah. I guess something that just kind of going off a little bit in regards to, a true freshman, like everyone on this call is more or less, going to be a freshman coming out of their senior year. What what would you require of a freshman coming in? What would you need them to do to be able to come in and start straight away as a true freshman?
Yeah, just be as fit as possible. It's a massive jump from club football to college soccer. You're going up against possibly 25, 26 year olds. Like you have to be ready for that. You have to be durable. You have to have a good fitness level. Obviously, you definitely have to be technical and comfortable in possession. It's similar to what I described previously. And you have to have a good mindset. You might not come in and you might be in a position where there's seniors ahead of you, where there's lads who have been playing in that position, but sometimes you're sitting there and you're like, when's my chance gonna come? You just have to stay ready. And we saw it this season. We had freshmen who were sitting on the bench for 3 quarters of the season. We had a lot of injuries. We had, dips in performances, and then when we called them the freshmen, they were ready or they weren't ready. And we had one that wasn't ready, and it let us down. So your mindset is huge going into a college season as a freshman, as a true freshman. But yeah, being as fit as possible, obviously being technically good, and then your mindset is 90% of it, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So fast forward to the next one, and this is kind of a question where you've got, you've recruited your freshman class, they come in. What are some non-negotiables to play with your program? One of the questions or one of the comments we got in the chat was academics. So as well, touching on the academic side of things, what is the standards within the program academically? What is the standards within the program athletically? What are non-negotiables when you're looking at players?
Yeah, as a freshman academically, to get into the school, Lipscomb is a private school. It holds itself as a high academic school as well. I've got one of the best business programs in Tennessee and across the country, I think. So getting into school, you need at least a 3.0, and obviously if you have your ACT and your SAT, that will help out, either academic aid wise. And we'll make our freshmen do study hall. And a great thing about Lipscomb is you're well supported in every facet as a student athlete, whether that's nutrition wise, soccer wise, academic wise. We have our own academic building where you can go in and meet with a lady called Morgan every week, and she kind of helps you with your schedule, kind of gets you through that transition of coming from high school into a college environment where you might have a bit more free time with your classes. But obviously the travel schedule is intense. Like we were on the road, start of the season to San Diego. We went away for 7, 8 days. So that stuff can be challenging. But you're well supported in that, and I think you can look at a person's GPA in high school and tell they can take care of their stuff. Like if you have a 4.0, we know you're responsible, you take pride in your grades. If you have a 2.0, you can tell it doesn't mean a lot to them, and there might be some time management issue there, and there might be, some problems academically when they come into college and they're traveling every second weekend or they're going away for long road trips, they won't take care of the business. But and we had kids this year that we had to suspend from practice because they didn't take care of the grades, and that comes first, and that's you're a student before you're an athlete, and you don't get the athlete side unless the schoolwork's taken care of. Um, and 90% of our lads understand that, and they know that in the recruitment process. But you'll have the odd one that will come through, and it's they're struggling with it, and we'll give them time off. It's nothing against them. They might be struggling with it. We'll give them time off to get their academic stuff right, and then they'll join back in the team. And once they're academically good, we're comfortable with them football wise. I think on a soccer aspect, the non-negotiables are your hard work, your attitude, your energy levels, your body language. We're not here to coach body language, not here to coach energy levels. We're here to coach soccer. They should be a given and they should be a constant. We shouldn't stop practice for someone who's not giving 100%. And if you have that and everybody's giving 100%, you're going the right direction, the results will show. They're definitely the non-negotiables for us is your body language, your energy, your attitude, your coachability, and pretty typical, pretty straightforward. And again, we're not here to coach those things. We're here to coach soccer tactics. What we want to do on the field. We shouldn't be coaching the non-negotiables, the zero talent habits um, that a player should have.
Love it. Love it. And then just kind of touching on recruiting timelines within your program. What are, like obviously, for those on the call, your junior year, July 15th, June 15th of your junior year is when you can start openly talking to colleges. And then November 1st of your senior year is when you officially sign to the college. So that's kind of the recruiting timelines from the NCAA. On Lipscomb, what, are you still recruiting seniors right now? Are you actively recruiting juniors? Kind of what is your timeline right now in recruiting, and what advice would you give to players that are maybe at the start of the recruiting process, and then some that are maybe near the end of the recruiting process?
Yeah, we're constantly recruiting. We're still recruiting for 2025. We had a big graduating class. So we're still looking. We're looking at 26s, we're looking at juniors. And as soon as the season ended, we're in South Carolina, we're in California, we're looking for players constantly. And I know the official deadlines, the deadlines you spoke about, but we're always looking for players. We're always looking to try and get better. And again, it's the best player that we find, and we get hundreds of emails a week, and we get through as many as we can. We try and look at everybody. We have a recruiting board that's full of players, and um, we want to look at them as in depth as possible. And that recruiting process is it's scary, and there's a lot going on in NCAA right now, especially for recruits that are coming through. But you have to be persistent. You have to keep emailing. You have to get the attention of the coach. And that's especially for juniors and seniors coming up now with the changes in roster caps and scholarship stuff that's coming through. Like we don't have any definite answers, so we're as much in the light as you are right now with scholarships. But it looks like there's going to be a 28-man roster cap, and that definitely changes things with squads like us. We carry 31, so it's not a massive change, but other programs will have bigger rosters, and they'll have to get rid of more lads. And I think the best thing for recruits that are coming up now is just to be persistent, have more detail in your emails. Don't blast out, I like your program, want to come and play soccer. There has to be some attention to it, there has to be some care, and there has to be some persistence, because again, I think my inbox is sitting at like 1,200 right now since the end of the season,
Yeah.
and there's a lot to get through. But it's not all doom and gloom. I think if you're a good player and you can be personable, you can get on the phone, that means a lot. And there's tons of schools out there. I think it's just picking which one fits you academically and athletically, and being persistent with it. But um, yeah, there's a lot coming for the next couple of years.
Yeah. And then kind of leads us perfectly on to the next question, like what is important during the recruitment process? What is a good highlight tape? What's things that you look for in emails? And then, is there ID camps that, I know you guys host ID camps up at Lipscomb. Are they important? Do they hold value? Like once if they target, for talking sakes, Lipscomb, and they're like, okay, this is a school that I'm really interested in, how do they get the ball rolling?
Yeah, so first on your highlight tape question, I think it's important that it's maybe between 6, 7 minutes long. We don't want to sit through 15 minutes of highlight tape. I think you just make a 6 to 7, 6 to 8 minute videotape, highlight tape, have your best parts at the start of your videotape, no action replay, no slow motion. We want to see all parts of your game. Typically the highlight tape will catch our interest, and we'll look for full game video, or we'll look for your schedule so you can come and watch. But yeah, definitely err on the shorter side. I mean, I think 2 or 3 minutes is too short. So I think a sweet spot would be 6 to 8 minutes. Have your best bits at the start. Catch our interest. We'll watch the rest of the video. We'll reach out. We'll ask for full game video or your schedule so we can come and watch in person. I think that's pretty important. The other trying to show, centre backs can be a frustrating one because it's all playing out from the back. It's all, getting on the ball. You have tons of time and space. We want to see you defend. We want to see you, airily challenge for a ball, how good you are in the air, set pieces. Uh, that can be a frustrating one where it's 7 minutes of a centre back just pinging balls left and right. We want to see you defend. You're a defender. If you're a striker, we want to see you score goals, and how's your hold up play, your link up play as a winger. It's a 1v1 situation, stuff that excites us. So yeah, on your highlight tape, definitely put your best bits forward and at the start, and then kind of encompass everything rather than just one thing if you can. Um, what was your other question? Sorry.
The email, when
Oh,
someone's
the email. Yeah.
emailing you, what should be in it. Obviously, preferably is it like a link to a highlight tape, a link to a schedule? What do you look
Yeah,
for?
they should be in there. Yeah, definitely have your highlight tape, definitely have your schedule in there. Try and make it as personal as possible. Say, hey, Coach Keely, I really like Lipscomb. I saw your record this year. I know you have a great business program. I'd love to study business. Is there anything I can do to get on campus? Do you have a ID camp coming up? I think the more detail you have in it, the more we're like, okay, he took time to write this email. He's genuinely interested. He knows about our academic programs. He's interested in our athletic program, and have an athletic kind of resume on or an academic resume on there as well. Obviously you want to come and play soccer here, but can you get into school? Like you don't have that part without the academics, and Lipscomb is a challenging school academically, and we want to make sure we're reading this email. He can get into school. He's a good student, takes care of his grades and the soccer matches as well. That means a lot. If it's a bit more personable and it's a bit more in depth, and they show some genuine interest rather than being a BCC on an email, and there's 100 other coaches attached to that email. It's like, okay, he's just blasting this out to see if he can get anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something just for those on the call, college coaches always kind of say that like when, someone writes a draft email and then just copy and paste every single coach and there is no substance behind it, it does sometimes happen. Like of the 1,200 emails that you said you've got in your inbox right now, how many of them are probably like that, like not blanket emails that aren't specific to Lipscomb?
Oh, tons, yeah. I couldn't give you a number, but I know the majority of them
There you
are
go.
blank emails,
Yeah.
especially just after the fall, and then you add the transfer
Oh,
portal in
come on.
there as well. Like
Yeah.
that's just people trying to
Bring
get
that
picked
bike
up.
too. Bring that bike.
Yeah. And then I guess like the ID camp piece, what do you do ID camp? Do you have your own specific ID camps? Is this something that you do recruit from? The other thing, the cool thing with an ID camp, if you're a freshman or a sophomore, you can go to an ID camp, and that's where you can speak to a college coach in person. Um, as long as you're on their campus, you can speak to them. So again, how valuable is an ID camp for you guys up at Lipscomb?
It's huge, honestly. We had two during the summer. We'll have one in January on MLK Day weekend, and we have a lot of players from our ID camp that are on our squad, and that came at the end of the summer, and we've signed one. We've signed one already that was our ID camp in the summer, so we put a lot of weight into it. It's just great having kids on campus, and you can talk to them, and they can see us as well as us seeing them. I think it's a huge benefit. And I think in the summer we had 60, 70 players come, and it's great. Like being
Yeah,
able to interact with players, in the recruitment process, it's usually over the phone or it's email, and there's not that personal touch. You can't really get a feel for their personalities
yeah,
100%, but there you're with them, you're doing a training session, you're playing games, you might play against our boys if they're still in town or if it's in the
yeah,
spring season. Like you get such a better feeling. You can get such a better feel for their personality and for their soccer ability as well. I think we do hold it in a high esteem, and it's definitely a massive thing for a recruit to get on campus. And we had some freshmen and sophomores in our summer ID camp, and it's great for them because they're nervous. They don't know what it looks like. They're like, this is my first one. I'm like, you need to do as much as possible. And I know the travel and the expense of it can be a lot for parents and for families, but it's a good experience to put yourself against high school seniors, lads who are ready to go into college, especially if you're a freshman and a sophomore, just to see what it looks like. And then the next ID camp you go to, you're more ready. You know what it's about. You know how it goes. And I coach club in this area, and I encourage them to do it just to get the experience. Maybe it's just one in your freshman year, and then you don't go until your junior and senior year, and you whittle down what schools you want to go to. But yeah, we would take our ID camp seriously, and we would sign maybe two or three from RD camps.
yeah. We just got a question from the chat, and it's a question that gets asked every single time we get in a college call. what holds more weight in regards to your recruitment process? High school soccer or club soccer? Like what? I know, both are somewhat important, but what do you actively recruit more at?
Yeah, club 100%. Yeah. Um, we might go to a high school game just because the fall is so busy and the club season's on the fall. And if we have a player identified and we want to go out and see him play, we might go to a high school game. But it's we put a lot more weight in the club scene for sure.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
just I think it's lads who are you're around players who are ambitious about clubbing in clubs or college in club soccer. High school it's a hodgepodge. You don't know, like you might have football players playing in high school or the coaches and the soccer coach. He's just the history teacher who wants to be, and it's not a good situation. I think we would
Yeah.
definitely put more weight in the club scene than in high school. And again, it's not that we would never go to a high school game. We would if we know it's two good high school teams that are playing and there's some good players on that. But typically we'll have a good idea before the high school season comes around, um, kind of where they're at. But again, we're not completely against high school. I think club is just a better level.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Okay, we'll go on to the next one. So this is actually something that I think is interesting, and it's good for our players to see this in regards to, kind of what an NCAA division roster breakdown is. So I went on your roster, and I looked at this. In the roster, you had 30 players, you had 7 countries and 13 states across the 30 players. You had 10 freshmen, 6 sophomores, 2 juniors, 5 seniors, and 6 graduate students. So just kind of touch on
Yeah.
like the roster breakdown. Like, you've obviously got so many countries, so many states representing the roster. You really are a global roster. It's not just, a few players locally in Tennessee and Nashville. It's really global. So yeah, just kind of touch on like your roster and like what that looks like in a recruitment process.
Yeah, I mean it's like soccer's a global game. It's completely different to the football, the basketball, the baseball, where the best players in the country are in this country. Soccer is so global, and the technology that we have now, we can recruit all over the world, and that you can look at our roster and you can say that, but it's not. We just want the best players, and whether they're all from the US or they're all international, like we just want to go out and find the best players. And we're not targeting any country, we're not targeting any state, we're not targeting any city to go and
Yeah,
get players from. But we have contacts all over the world. Obviously, with me being in Ireland, I'd have a good European connection. The other two assistants are American; they have good American connections. We have a good recruitment budget that we can go to California, we can go to the other side of the country. We were in one of our assistants in California now. I was in South Carolina. Like we're looking everywhere. We're not
yeah,
just looking internationally. We don't want that. We don't want a team just full of one country. It's not enjoyable. We want a diverse roster. It's part of the experience for our players. It's a good experience for us. Um, we're not just trying to find 30 Brazilians and having a Brazilian like
yeah,
that
yeah,
wouldn't be enjoyable and that's not realistic. But um, we do recruit true freshmen. We want more true freshmen. I think if you look at this year, we had a few 1 year guys, and it's hard for those 1 year guys to buy into our culture. And I know a lot of teams would depend on the portal. They depend on graduate lads. They would just look at those more experienced players. But I think we get more out of it. I think our culture becomes stronger when you have true freshmen who are here for 4 years, and it just makes our program stronger. And you can look at that number and say we have 10 freshmen. That's our biggest class in our squad. And yes, some of them didn't play. They might need a year, but some of them did play, and they
yeah,
put in some good minutes. And we value that as well. We want true freshmen that are going to be here for 4 years that contribute to the culture, that buy in, that when they're seniors, they can coach the culture themselves, and it makes our job a lot easier. And it just almost runs itself when you have boys who are bought in for 4 years here in your freshman year and they graduate. It's great.
Let's talk about that then. So, in regards to, you said 10 freshmen, maybe not all of them logged a lot of minutes. So, you have 30 players. 11 can play. There's no JV team. There's, only 11 can play. How is it, from your standpoint, just balancing the roster, balancing the expectation? A lot of the freshmen probably played every minute of every game as a high school senior, as a high school club player. How do you navigate the waters with the different situations with essentially the five classes that you've got when you include the graduate students?
Yeah, it can be tough. When you're finishing high school and you were the man there and you played every minute and you come into an environment where it's completely different, it's super competitive, like your confidence can be shot. And I mentioned it earlier, you have to be mentally ready for that. You have to be mentally tough. Like we tell our lads the best players are going to play. And if you look at our squad, we have a freshman from Louisville and he performed really well. He was ready and he jumped in. He played nearly 70% of the games. And our two starting wingers are freshmen. So I mean, and that might lean into our graduating class from last year, it might lean into some injuries, but again, yeah, it can be difficult to have those conversations, and it can be tough on true freshmen who don't come in straight away and they don't play. Like you have to sit them down and say, listen, this is what you need to do, like in a performance wise, or whether they need to develop a year, then it's up to them if they want to do a redshirt year or if they want to keep going playing. Like we'll never bring that conversation up, or we'll never bring someone in and say, you're a redshirt and like you're going to sit. We bring people in who we think we can help straight away. And then it's their performances in training, it's performances in games dictate whether they play or not. And we had three or four freshmen play this season just because of their performances in practice and the expectation of them being recruited and coming in and playing. So, um, yeah, we've had like in that ten freshman class, I'd say 50% of them played and 50% of them didn't. And the 50% that didn't know where they stand and know where they have to improve. And it's about being honest and open through the season. And they understood it and they're gonna keep their head down and they have a great chance this spring to train and play and then, put their stake forward for the next fall.
Yeah. So I guess like moving on, obviously, being a Division 1 program, some of the schools that you're coming up against in non-conference and also in conference are really big schools in the NCAA Division 1 soccer world. So I mean, just kind of talk through the non-conference games you played this year. Like what you said, you traveled to San Diego for 7 days. You played the two San Diego teams. You also played Kentucky. You played St. Louis. You played Louisville. Why do you play this really hard non-conference schedule?
Oh, we love it. You want to be competitive. You want to play the best teams in the country. You don't want an easy schedule. It's not enjoyable. You want to play the best teams in the country. Your RPI matters. If you look at our conference, I wouldn't say it's the strongest conference. So, you know, excuse me, tactically for us, we play those stronger teams out of conference, gives us a better chance of getting into the national tournament without having to win our conference. Um, but again, they're really fun games to play. Like you want to test yourself against, like San Diego got to the Elite Eight, I think this year, or Final Four maybe. Like they were, and I encourage you not to look at our schedule and see the score of that game. But it was a really enjoyable experience. Like they were phenomenal, same as Kentucky and St. Louis and Louisville, like top programs. And we went toe to toe with the majority of them. And
Yeah.
it just shows how strong of a team we are. You want to know we compete on a national level, and our this season was a tough season for us. But early on in the season, we tied Kentucky, we tied St. Louis. We're unlucky against Charlotte. We were unlucky against Louisville. They had two set piece goals, and it's 2-2 or up 2-0, I think, and they come back into the game, and we're trying to. It's our last game before our conference, so we're trying to try some different things before we go into our conference play. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you have to play these top teams, and if you get the opportunity to, you don't shy away from it. You want to see where your squad's at. You want to be up there with those top programs, and previously we won our conference the last 3 years in a row. We were getting to Elite Eight, we were getting to the national tournament, and we had two top 10 draft picks. We had lads transfer out this last season, so yeah, this season is a bit of a tough pill to swallow. But as bad as this season was, we're confident that it's going to be as much as a swing next season.
Hmm.
I'll do the Swiss.
in regards to, your conference, the ASUN, you've got teams from all over, North Carolina, Kentucky,
Yeah.
Arkansas, and then you've got four Florida teams. So, how do you navigate that schedule wise with, like, say, academics, with maybe freshmen that aren't playing, sophomores that aren't playing, any players that aren't playing as well? Like, how does the conference season work for you? Is like, because it's not as simple as you're driving 2 hours to Memphis and playing Memphis. Like, you're actually having to get on flights here and play these schools, play these tough
Yeah.
schedules, and every game in your conference matters. Like, it's, I think in every conference in any soccer walk of life, like, if you drop 2 or 3 games, it can be detrimental. So, like, how do you navigate, your conference as a whole with all the travel, and then also how much does it impact when teams come to Nashville? How much of an advantage do you have when a Florida based team comes up to Nashville to play?
Yeah, it's a ton of travel. I mean, this year we went to Jacksonville, we went to FGCU, we went to Central Arkansas, we went to Queens, and they're all flights. Like we're leaving Friday morning, we're training Friday afternoon, and then we play Saturday night. We'll stay the night on a Saturday, and then we'll fly out Sunday morning. Which is good in a sense as it's you miss as little as class as possible. And if we need it, we can bring an academic advisor with us that will either proctor exams or will hold the study hall so they're not falling behind. I mean, you look at that San Diego game. I mean, we had study hall that week just because it was the start of the year and we had a lot of freshmen, so they needed to keep on top of things. But yeah, our conference schedule there's a ton of travel in it. I
Hmm.
think every year you're gonna go to Florida at least twice, and
Hmm.
then Bellarmine's in Kentucky. We'll drive up there, but yeah, it's tough. We'll typically bring a squad of 22. So that means you're leaving about 7 or 8 behind, and they'll be left with a training schedule, and that's where the responsibility part comes in. Are you getting out? Are you doing the workouts? We'll leave something with the strength and conditioning coach. They'll all join in. They'll all maintain their fitness. They'll get out and they'll practice together. And that's the individual responsibility for them is to stay motivated and to train when we're away. Because we have every drop of technology you'd want, and we have a strength conditioning coach that will wear GPS monitors and manage load and know if lads are working out and to their maximum capabilities, and it's the same for those lads who stay at home. We'll know if they're working out or not.
Hmm.
So you can't really hide. So if you're not in that travel squad, you're still expected to get a game load in since we're playing a game, and then you'll have a recovery load the next day, and then you're back to training on the Monday.
Yeah.
Well, typically we have a day off on the Monday, but you're back to training on a Tuesday and getting ready for the next conference game. So
Yeah.
it can be a lot. It can be a lot for a freshman who's coming out of high school and you're traveling every weekend or you're traveling every second weekend. It can be tough, but Lipscomb's a small school. We've got a great academic staff. We're in touch, and the professors know our schedule. We give them travel letters at the start of the year, and they're really great. They'll work a lot with our lads. If they need to take tests early or if they need to do a separate test, they can come in after we travel and they'll do it, or we could do it on the road. Um, it's a really good place for that since it's a smaller campus. Professors will work with us a lot, and we have a good relationship with the academic side.
Yeah. I guess at the closing point for this slide. So, like what I said at the start, on your team, 7 countries, 13 states, 30 players. Some of the teams you played this fall: UC San Diego, Kentucky, Louisville, Florida Gulf Coast, Central Arkansas. For our players, how important is it that they watch college soccer and understand the level that you guys are playing at and the competitiveness of your roster, for them to understand if, for talking sakes, an NCAA Division One school is the right fit for them, and also what they need to do to get to the levels if that is what they want to do.
Yeah, you have to watch it. You have to watch college soccer. I know Memphis is the closest team there, and they're a great team. And I know, club soccer, you're playing against kids your own age. It's all about, developing you as a player, where college is a winning game. And games might not look like a lovely footballing game where there's 20 passes played before the tap in happens. Like it's gonna be it's going to be nitty, it's going to be gritty. You have to watch it, you have to understand what you're getting yourself into, because it's never always the beautiful game. Like we pride ourselves on being a technical team, like a high possession, high pressure team. But there's games you walk into and you're like, this team does not want to play soccer. They want to knock it long. They want to put us under pressure, and you have to be able to deal with it. You have to be able to deal with that, and watching it prepares you for that. It's just it's a game of margins at times. We go into games and we feel like we're playing to win, the other team are playing not to lose, and you just have to be prepared for that. It's not going to be beautiful. You're playing against lads who are 23, 24, 25, and you're coming out of high school as a 17, 18-year-old. Watching it is going to prepare you a lot more than just sticking with your club stuff and playing FIFA. That's you're not doing yourself a service. You're not doing yourself a benefit by not watching it, especially if Memphis are so close, even CBU. Like it's very similar in style, and again it's a you have to win. You have to win.
Yeah, yeah. What, just last one on it, just athletically, what, obviously you said they're 23, 24-year-olds, some of your graduate students might be 25, 26. Athletically, obviously, a lot of room needs to get bridged for, that true freshman coming out. They need to be physically ready.
Yeah, soccer is a great game where physicality might not come into it, but more than likely it is. If you're not technically superior, so getting in the gym, eating right, like all those small habits make such a big difference. Like, yeah, you're looking at a grad student who played, in the under 18 Premier League, and he's been playing men's league in England for the last 3 years, and he comes out and he's just physically a monster. Like, you're gonna have to prepare for that. And it's such a global sport. Like, you have lads in Germany who are playing under 19 Bundesliga, and they've been treated like a pro for the last 8 years of their life. It's you're coming up against specimens all over the country. And if you're not preparing yourself in a way that you should be, and you're getting skipped out athletically, yeah, you might struggle for playing time, but you get yourself in the right program, and the freshman fall doesn't go that way. You're going to have the resources, especially at Lipscomb, where you have a dedicated strength and conditioning coach that's soccer specific. That's gonna make you like athletic in a soccer sense, not bench pressing and doing all that stuff and just being buff. It's gonna put you in a place where you can compete and can compete with these older players. But yeah, I think if you can understand that part now, I think it's gonna benefit you when you get to your freshman year in college, just the athleticism part. Because yeah, if you're technically superior, it might not come into it, but more than likely it is.
Yeah, yeah. No, I got you. Just fast forward into the next one, and I mean, this is something that's credit to you guys, as a program. But last year you had two players drafted to the pros. Two lads drafted to the MLS. The first one was, round one, pick one. He got drafted to Toronto FC. The second one's round one, pick eight, drafted to New York City. Is this something you actively talk about when recruiting players to your program? And, what culture does that set your program having, just players last year, now playing in the MLS and drafted in at such high picks?
I mean, yeah, we don't actively try and bring it up in the recruiting process. But I think recruits know about it for sure.
Yeah.
And it's something that you might reference too. If recruits say, we saw you had two first round draft picks, like we want to do that. And we're like, great, but here's their story. Like Tyrese didn't start his first couple of years. He only really came to life in his junior and senior year, and he was offered a second team contract at Nashville, and he's from Trinidad. They're broke. He had no money, and he's like, I have to take it. And we're like, no, you're getting paid $30,000 in Nashville. Like that's insane. Like you're gonna be broke. And it took everything in our power to keep him for one more season, and then he ended up the number one round draft pick, and we didn't go too far in the NCAA tournament. Um, but yeah, it would come up, and Malachi is a different story as well. Like Malachi didn't want to be drafted. He didn't go to the combine. He wasn't taking any calls from MLS teams, and it was out of his hands. They're like, we're drafting him, and this is what's going to happen. And he's like, okay, and the New York City FC GM just turned up at his door in Nashville and he's like, "We drafted you. You're coming to play for us." So it's completely different, and both journeys are a little bit different. Malachi wanted to stay. He was only a sophomore, and he wanted to stay at Lipscomb, and that kind of speaks a lot about the culture that we have. He's like, I'm not ready to go. I want to stay here. I love it here. Um, but he was just such a good player, technically and athletically, that they wanted to draft him, and he ended up going. So yeah, it does come up in the recruitment process, but every player's journey is completely different, and
Mhm.
those two lads had very different careers, but they're very talented and deservedly so, doing really well in the MLS right now. But yeah, it will come up, and we're not actively trying to brag about it or talk about it. We will if it comes up, and the reality of it is like, will we ever get a number one draft pick again? We don't know. We're not trying to recruit number one draft picks. We're trying to recruit good players that fit in our culture. Good human beings. We're a Christian school, so that's important. That the personality and they're here for the right reasons. Not just to come in and go pro straight away. We want them to spend time here. They have to buy into the culture. That's part of why those lads were drafted. It wasn't just about themselves. They were bought into Lipscomb. They were here for, again, Malachi didn't want to leave. Spicer was here for 4 years and they loved it here, and that helped them get drafted. So again, we're not looking to recruit draft picks. We're looking to recruit good people, and then when they get into our culture and our environment, that's when they start to flourish, and that's when those talks will come about. But
Mhm.
you know, we really pride ourselves on our culture and what it means to be at Lipscomb, and a smaller school, a smaller Christian school. Like, that's who we are. And if lads want to be here, brilliant. If not, then okay, you're not going to be recruited here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, moving on to the next one. I sent you this before, and I added this slide since we spoke, and it's just to kind of bring you back, I guess, to a few years ago where, you did coach for the club. So you are
Yeah,
obviously a Lobos Rush alumni in the
some
college
legends in our
ranks.
picture.
And so I mean, I guess like just making it specific to, our players that are on the call, like you've came to, I think in the last 3 years you've came to every showcase in Memphis. I know you've got ties to Memphis. You obviously coached for the club for a while. How realistic is it that players from Memphis can be on a Lipscomb roster, and highly regards is Lobos to your program?
Yeah, I mean, Lobos is the biggest club in Memphis. I know you're competing with Germantown Legends, but in our mind, Lobos is the biggest club. You've got great coaches there, got great programs. You have great players, and it just shows how many players you send to D1 or to college altogether. Like, there's definitely a great pathway, and I know you, I know Mark, I know Paul, I know all the lads that are there and there as well. Like, it's completely attainable. Like, Memphis is a great soccer city. Um, and it might go under the radar sometimes, but we know and we respect the stuff that and the players that you have, the teams that you have. And yeah, I come down to Memphis every year because I know there's players there to recruit. Um, and it's close for us, and it's I think it's completely attainable. And even in that picture there's some players that they're legends, like, and it says like like Memphis has like lads from Lobos. I know some other players would go far from Memphis to play college soccer, but yeah, we know there's good players in Memphis, and it's completely attainable for anybody at Lobos to play college soccer at the Division 1 level.
Yeah, yeah. Like what I say, just kind of wanted to tie that piece into it. And then, I mean, I guess the last thing, this is something that, we've been running for the last like 4 or 5 years, is the Lobos Rush College Development Program. And for those that
Yeah.
are on the call, like we have, players that are in the college ranks, and then some players that are within the club in the summer months, June and July, where, we put on training sessions where we connect the college side to the club side. And it's also a good tool for us to record it and send it to coaches, where they're actually players within the club are actually playing with, current college players and kind of also allows them to understand, what it looks like, hopefully, on this call, Shane's explained the difference between, the freshmen, the sophomore, the juniors, the seniors, and then just also all the different things with the competitiveness of college soccer, especially NCAA Division One, like the amount of countries and states within that roster really shows how competitive college soccer is, especially at the highest level, which obviously is NCAA Division One. So this is something as well that I just think was valuable in regards to showing the connection with the club between the current players that we've got and then also the players that we've moved on. The connection that we have when they move on is still there. It's not like, hey, well done, see you later. We do bring them back in the summer and give them training, and it's free training for them, to help prepare for their next semester as college athletes and student athletes. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna stop sharing there, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop.